this thing on. What's happening, everybody? Hope everybody's having a fantastic start to their week. Coming up on Christmas. Hope everybody's got their Amazon orders and their eBay orders and their Summit orders ordered. Because if you don't, you ain't going to get it. So, as is always the case, there's always some kind of nonsense or some kind of drama going on. Some kind of a, what the hell's going on with this? Dr. Diff, what's up, man? So anyway, I'm speaking of waiting on parts or, wishing on parts, I should say. So I got to start ordering up parts for little Miss Foxy back here to undergo her surgery. And looking at it and basically checking out, it looks like the clutch disc itself may have let itself go, among other things in this old clutch. So, yeah, fun. But anyway, so going to be going with, basically it's the 400 horse McLeod clutch, just the regular steel flywheel, billet steel flywheel. So lightweight, but not aluminum. That's one of the things I was going to talk about too is, when you're faced with this type of situation, as we all end up facing at some point, something just outright breaks, fails, something goes wrong. And when you're out doing, dumb stuff happens, right? So, I mean, look, let's be honest. I'm really kind of surprised that the clutch held together as long as it did with this car, but, yeah, it's time for a new one. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do pressure plate, clutch disc, obviously pilot bearing, throwout bearing, and a new flywheel. So the trick with this is going to be with the flywheel, though. A lot of times guys will just try to go to the very bottom of the page, go, look, it's going to be an aluminum flywheel, and it's going to be the lightweight, and it's going to do this and do all of that. Oh, ye of no experience. What happens with that, start messing around with these real lightweight flywheels, is that you get a car that that kind of sucks to drive in some cases. They get a little bit flashy, and when they rev up, they don't have any stored energy. And because they don't have any stored energy, they just kind of take away from some of the street ability. About the only time they're really worth anything is if you're doing a lot of autocross or closed circuit racing. Lots of high rev decel. In that case, it works out great because you don't have the stored energy basically dragging you along. Whereas the aluminum flywheel will just let the engine decel really quickly, accelerate really quickly. They don't do you any favors for drag racing or the street. So for me, it's not really worth it. So we're going to go back with the, this is actually a 351. So it's going to be the 64 something D5 B302. Anyway, it's the 28 ounce imbalance steel flywheel. So that's what's going to go in the car, along with all new hardware and everything else. I will tell you, I was kind of eyeballing up underneath that, up underneath the car. It's got a Lakewood bell housing. So I was had my phone in there looking around, and my wife was, engaging and disengaging the clutch. That thing looks like it was dredged out of the freaking bay. So she was up for a replacement anyway, if for no other reason, just a timeline was going to dictate that. So anyway, that's what's latest with her. I still have not done the headlights. I'm waiting for the extension harness to show up so I can finish out some of the interior bits on the car. And then at that point, going to go ahead and button her up, send her over to the shop that's on the other side of town. And I'm just going to turn the green wrench on this one because a couple of things. It would just be me doing it, and I haven't done a clutch on one of these things in about 15 years, and I'd like to actually kind of keep it that way. So, let's see. Let me check in with everybody real quick. Dr. Diff is in, and there it is. Yep, John Jones is in. What is happening? I like it. What's up, John? Kobe Warren's got the arm flex. I like it. You can't see them, but they are in there. Oh, by the way, so just getting back, really able to work out again. As always, get in the gym, start doing dumb stuff, went a little bit too crazy. And then went a little bit too crazy eating, so I got a little bit fat, so I was supposed to be cutting weight, gained weight, the routine. So anyway, Sunday would have been my first full day back. So I've got less than a month to cut 20 pounds. Who's with me? The B Mason Panic Weight Cut Challenge for January. So anyway, yeah. So cardio, it could have been a little bit better, but all things considered, it wasn't half bad. Mainly, it was just rusty. Getting things moving, getting things loose. That was the main thing. But still dragging weight around pretty good. So that's the main thing for the stuff that I will still do in terms of lifting. Clutch 392 saying, good evening, Clutch. Shift Nation saying, yo, what's up, Mr. R&D? I like it. Shift. I like it a lot. Thank you, sir. Destroyer 1328, Professor Eric Taylor's in the house. CFL James, what's up, man? Junior saying, howdy, B. What's up, man? Got the arm flex and the ball guy. I like it. Dr. Div saying, aluminum flywheels are trash for a driver. Great to rev, but no inertia to get it moving. That's what I was just saying. And yeah, it ends up being really more frustrating than anything else, especially if you've got something that has a lot of tip-in torque like this thing does. It's not going to do you any good. It's just going to make it more frustrating to drive than anything else. Hey, Amber's in. What's up? What's up? A little bit of Mrs. X in the house. Chris saying, what's up, everybody? Hit that like button. Yeah, pound on that like button. Ring the bell. What is it? Like, subscribe, share, ring the bell. Do all that fun stuff. Let's see. Dr. Div's hanging out with Mrs. X. Let's see. Lamont saying, would I be glad I could catch you this evening? Got the arm flex. I like it. Dr. Div saying, I'll take those 20 pounds, buddy. You can have them. And then Kobe saying, thoughts on the Mustang Mach-E? Yeah, I'll touch on that for a minute. So, guy, you saw this coming, right? Ford is doing something that I kind of wish they wouldn't have done, which is, it's a little bit pandery to me. It's a little cringy to see what they're doing with this electric vehicle that has nothing to do with the Mustang. It's not even like a Mustang wagon, like the old cars that they made back in the 60s. We were turning everything's into wagon, like, vet wagons and Mustang wagons and all that. Anyway, it's not even something cool like that. It's this kind of crossover-y looking thing that I'm just having a hard time jumping behind. And they didn't have to call it that, and they didn't have to shackle it to, I guess you could call it the legacy of Mustang, but to be honest with you, nobody's really taken it seriously in that respect. But as far as just for what it is, it's a good EV. What's not to like? It's got good performance. It's got decent range, but all of them do now, right? So, look at the Model E from Tesla. It kind of gives you an idea for about where that thing's going to be. So good performer, good range. What's not to like from an EV standpoint? I just don't like it just seems a little bit forced to be dragging that thing into or to be slapping it or shackling it with the Mustang name. Not that it's a bad thing, but Mustang doesn't mean people hauler electric vehicle. It just doesn't. They would have been better off, in my opinion, resurrecting like the Astrovan nomenclature. That the Astrovan looked like the space shuttle, just fuselage cut off. At least it would have had a little bit of, old school panache to go along with it, but I don't know. It just kind of mind spitting here, but you kind of get my idea, I think. Viaga's saying, what's up, Mr. B? What's up, man? Dr. Div saying, Bolton Ford and Lake Charles just bought out, or Bolton Ford and Lake Charles just bought out Mid-Country Dodge. My wife works there because they need the ability to sell cars. Ford is going to all trucks and crossovers beside the Mustang. Bad move, in my opinion. Yeah, that's the thing, though. Ford, here's the funny thing about Ford. Ford has no... Well, let's kind of go through the cars real quick, and maybe you guys can bring me up to speed, but Ford has no platform for a car other than like the small economy cars and the Mustang. That's it. There's no intermediate sedan coming from them. It's all SUVs, crossovers really more than anything else. The Bronco's checking in with that. The Bronco 2, like this Bronco Sport, I guess is the right name to call it. Those vehicles are kind of checking into that platform or into that category. Same kind of goes for GM. Obviously, you got the CTS platform, all the CTSs is. But you don't have, something like a, Crown Vicky type car, Impala type of car. And nobody's making that except for Dodge with the Charger. And that also kind of is interesting because, look at the European brands. Every one of them has some type of a sedan. And they're getting into this SUV thing, whereas it's kind of the other way around with the American groups. They're just running like crazy from the cars, and the reason why is that folks just aren't buying them. They need people movers, and cars really aren't people movers anymore. So, that being said, Ford sells more trucks than anything else, and that has almost by default turned into I guess you could call that the new people mover, the new suburban type of a vehicle. And I don't mean it like the Chevy Suburban, which it does still kind of fall in line with that. But, even the Suburban really is a little bit overly priced. But you look at what you can get with a truck. You can get a crew cab truck that can take the whole family around and be a hauler and do a little bit of everything. So that's the reason why trucks have gotten so popular. And quite frankly, I can understand why. Brother saying Astrovan was Chevy. Well, what was the Ford? Aerovan? I don't know. You get the idea. Same concept. Amber saying, Racer X asked me about the glass eye. What is he talking about? Or ask about the glass eye. What are we talking about? Well, Amber, that kind of goes back into a reference of a conversation that Paul and I were having that basically went something like this. We were talking about V6 content. We were talking about 5.7 content, 6.4 content, and Hellcat content, and how each one of those varying platforms, how do you approach that particular genre? How do you approach these various vehicles? And part of me, we're talking about the V6 stuff, and I have a unique perspective on the V6 as a performance platform. And to me, it's more of a novelty. And, a novelty in a way that I could possibly keep it somewhat family friendly. Let's just call it a novelty date. Okay. And if you're to have a novelty date, what could be more novel than a chick with a glass eye? I mean, dude, are you kidding me? I mean, think about it. You just grew an extra orifice. What am I supposed to say? What? So then there's the idea that look at all the different things you can do with it. Yeah, but would you really do with it? And would you really stick around with it? And would you really want to do anything else with it other than just the novelty date that you would be dealing with? So to me, that whole conversation just blossomed into its own flower of interestingness, because not only is there that, but there's some other little things that came to mind that would circle around that same topic. So basically, that was more or less the discussion was, when you're talking about from a performance aspect, you don't really have a lot to draw from, but when you hear about it and when you see it, you want to check it out. And again, we're talking about the V6 platform. I love the V6 platform is as an expressionist piece. We're talking wheels, sound system, paint jobs, suspension, doors, light shows, the whole bit. I love that car and that platform in that respect because it's not trying to be something that it was never intended to be. It's stylish, so you ramp up the stylish part of it and you save the money. You didn't need a V8. It's just going to sit there and look cool. That's what you roll with. And that's why if I had a V6, that's what I would buy a V6 for. But then there's this other side of me that's morbidly curious about some of the more macabre and different aspects of life. And so maybe I do want to look at what that supercharger can do. And maybe I do want to see just where it falls in line, in the hierarchy of things when it comes to the different platforms. And regardless of where it really falls, you still want to see it. Like if I were to show you something so WTF, you're never going to take your eyes away from it. And then there's some things that'll ingrain themselves into your mind. And sometimes that's a fun place to be. It's kind of like watching a B horror movie just with, I don't know, maybe a different type of a casting situation. Anyway, I think you know what I'm talking about. Aerostar, brother saying, yes, it was the Ford Aerostar. Aerostar is the one I was thinking of. Quick break saying Ford Aerostar, still trying to catch my breath from conversations earlier today. Yeah, because look, you know, little tripods aside, it's hard to really take your eyes off of just the creative, interestingly, that seems to happen with some of these builds, and so yes, there are some things that will pique my interest in kind of a more adventurous and curious seeking way. Let's see. Dr. Joe's saying Ford Windstar threw a rod 900 miles from home. It was a blast, let me tell you, although it was a good van. We were way overweight. That sucks. Kobe's saying crossover is not for me. I'm a car guy and I feel cars will soon be gone. That's the other problem. The problem is the lack of soul that you seem to see with a lot of these crossovers. The problem is a lack of uniqueness with these electric razors on wheels. That's the thing that really bothers me the most. And when everybody has one and everybody markets one, the entire palette, the entire automotive palette just kind of turns a bland shade of gray. And you can tart these, electric people movers up however you like, but crossovers or what have you. But the weird thing is, have you noticed they all have the same shape? They all have this cupped shape to them. That almost forced aerodynamic look. Well, I don't know how aerodynamic they really are, but that rear passenger squashing roof line and all this other stuff. It's interesting to me because when you look at that landscape and that's all that you see, it blends into the background. And then you're left with whatever the soul of that company is, be it trucks, be it the Mustang, Challenger, Charger, Camaro, Corvette, whatever it is. Those are the only vehicles that you will know the name of. And so I can be forgiven for not remembering the Aerostar, Astrovan, Blastroman, whatever. It doesn't matter. I've forgotten about them. They don't mean anything anymore because they never meant anything when they were around back then. So I guess that's the only thing that bothers me. Going back to that, the comment about the Mustang, trying to set it apart, trying to make it pop in this sea of abstract mediocrity. And that's something that when I look at it, I feel that, without cars like the Mustang, the Camaro, the Challenger, the Charger, the Vet, there's no reason to even show up at a dealership. There's no reason to even soak it in, so to speak, because it's just going to be another, again, it's just a razor on wheels, Amber Moody. Dr. Joe saying the stuff that comes up in this chat sometimes, man, I'm laughing so hard. Quick, yeah, here we go again. Yeah, I know. I'm trying not to let that wave crest, but I don't know. It may end up before the end of the night. Depends on how many of these mineral waters I have. White Knuckle saying, yeah, I'm not down with the V6, even supercharged. It can't hang with a 302. I think it's a waste of money to sink any performance parts into one of those cars. I tell you something, it's a waste, but here, in a way it's not. Just walk with me here. So I was talking earlier about, you're going to get this V6 and let's say you've got money to spend, right? And you're going to build a show rig out of one of these things. And I love them. I really do. I'm fascinated by these cars. Big rims, got to have the sound system, and you got to have the sound system to go along with it. Interior mods, exterior mods, got the body kits, got the paint job, everything. In that case, the supercharger isn't really there for power, although you'll get a bump in power. Let's say you pick up 60, 70, 80 horsepower, whatever it is. 100 horsepower on a good day, basically, is what I'm saying on 93 octane. But what I'm getting at is it's part of the show, right? I mean, yeah, it's supercharged, and you can put the badges on, and you can accessorize with that too. But the idea is that it's part of the show, and plus it helps drag big wheels and a big sound system and everything else around. But I wouldn't use it as a performance upgrade, at least not for that platform, because there's just nothing there that's going to spell a winning combination. In other words, you're not going to put that centrifugal supercharger on a V6 and just start walking away from 392s and stuff like that, unless you've got just this unreal build that you've gone out and done. But you're going to have to turn that boost up to, I mean, man size boost here, 12, 14 PSI on that size engine isn't going to get you much. You're going to need to be pushing significant power for it to really even make sense to go that route anyway. So in my opinion, yeah, it helps you to drag around the bigger wheels and the sound system and everything else, and makes the car, in essence, brings the performance back that you lose through the weight and the gear loss that you'll have with the bigger wheels. And it makes sense to do it. But I don't know, really. I mean, why? If you're going to build a hot rod, start out with a freaking hot rod. So quick break. How about a midget supercharger? That's what you'd find on the front of some of those things. That might mean something different in certain aspects of the world too, man. So Dr. Diff is saying the 3.6 Pentastar doesn't hold nitros too well. Yeah, it does. But the RIP supercharger works on them. I just don't get the hopped up V6 thoughts, but to each their own. And that's the thing. Look, guys, I would never, ever, if somebody wants to build a V6 and throw the kitchen sink at it, I mean, who am I to judge? All right. I mean, look, that's why there's different categories when you go to certain websites. I mean, everybody's got a different taste in their mouth. Everybody has a different taste, and everybody wants to try something different. Let them try something different. It might not be what works for you. It might not ever be what works for you. In fact, it might make you gag, but one man's gag is another man's gag ball. And that's something that, we can all learn to love the same way, just not in the same way. So I say embrace it. I mean, what else are you going to do? Nothing but love over here. White Knuckles saying, I'm with you, but to each their own. Tad's actually got a good point. So he's saying, should Dodge bring back the Magnum? I think they should. Seems to be a growing market. White Knuckles saying I'd buy one, and Dr. Diff is saying I'm down. Enter yours truly into the conversation as well. Look, here's the problem with the Magnum. The Magnum fell into a weird category where everybody said that they loved it. Everybody said that they were always going to be thinking about buying one. It's on their short list of cars to buy. But you know what? Got news for you. They didn't sell many of them. When I was at Mecum back in 2016, this was a key part of the conversation that I was having with FCA marketing. What about the Magnum? What about a refresh for the Magnum? Will there be a Hellcat version of the Magnum? That's what got me worked up. Will there be any semblance of a Magnum coming? And the answer was, well, did you ever buy one? And I went, well, no, I didn't. And then, so the answer was, well, that's why we don't make them anymore. There's just no reason to, because it was not a very viable platform for guys to actually get out there and, I don't know, buy, because FCA is in the business of selling cars. And they had already had the Viper, which was on its way out too, by the way, for the same reason. But the Viper was on its way out. The Hellcat was on its way in. Hellcat Charger was already there. You had basically the Trackhawk coming. You had all these other vehicles that were on the way, and this Magnum, it was just going to clutter up the market, so to speak. And really, coming from their point of view, you can't blame them for driving down that road, because again, if it doesn't sell units, it doesn't make dollars, doesn't make sense, right? That's what they're telling me anyway. Let's see. Dollar Power Shaker to say, yo, Mason, good evening. What's happening, man? Cal is saying, if I went V6 and extra money, I'd go with a 4.3 stroker. Well, let's talk about that for a minute. So Callis brings up a good point. So the problem with the 3.6 is that it is gutless. I've driven I've driven the Jeep with that engine. I've driven a Charger with that engine. And they're just, they don't make a lot of power, but they're not supposed to. And when I say gutless, I mean it in the sweet, most sweetheart kind of way. They just don't make power. They're not designed to, but the engine itself doesn't make power until significantly later in its power band. You've got a car that is heavy. And granted, when you're looking at the difference between the weight of the V8 versus the weight of the V6, it's still heavy. Okay. So a larger, excuse me, a larger V6 would actually make sense for these heavier cars. And I just don't see what FCA is doing with the V6. Second to that, and this is something that I found kind of strange, the V6, the newest V6s for the 8-speed automatic, they use the HP50. And they use the HP50 because they don't need to use the HP70. And I think that is a little bit of a bummer because it limits the amount of power that you can make with the thing, even if you wanted to mod the thing. So there's that to consider too. But add to that the fact that they come standard with 262 gears. That's incredibly disrespectful in a way to the people that would buy these things. Optional is a 309, but these things need to have a 307. I'm sorry, a 370. 392, something that'll help these things get out of their own way and that will play within the rev range of that engine. Can't say that I'm a huge fan of it, although it ripped in the Pacifica, right? But anyway, I think you guys get what I'm going for here. It's a shame that when it comes to the base model cars, that thing just doesn't. I mean, it's at the bottom of the food chain. Talking about the Camaro and the Mustang. I mean, it would have been the Mustang. Mustang doesn't have the V6 anymore, but the Camaro V6 is actually pretty ripping. So, but that's also because that car weighs about 500 pounds less. So don't forget about that. There's also that to consider as well. But yeah, a stroker, or if they just came out with something bigger that would help drag the thing around, maybe that would garner a little bit more attention from the aftermarket, because right now, the aftermarket doesn't really want to have anything to do with that engine. So, why should the rest of the public, right? That's the general way of thinking anyway. Let's see. Dr. Div saying, I think Dodge in general needs to revamp all the LX platforms. The time is coming. Hopefully, they will do something soon. They've had a good run, but time for a change. It's funny. The big switch that they were talking about with the Julia platform, with the Ghibli platform, more importantly, it doesn't look like it's really going to happen. The soonest anything is going to happen is going to be 2023. And from what my understanding is that it was going to be just a not reconfigured, let me rephrase that. That's not accurate at all. Basically a reworked LX platform. I mean, why mess with a winning combination? Especially when you're bookending, you're the other end of the bookending scenario, the yin to the yang of the Mustang, right? So that's really where you're going to find yourself with, whatever upcoming platforms there are. Now, will it be lighter? Who knows? At this stage of the game, I don't think it does anybody any service to even speculate. FCA's being real tight-lipped about what they're going to do, and to be honest with you, it's not, how do I put this? It's not exciting to even try to look ahead or speculate, because in looking ahead, what's out there? Well, you got the TRX that's coming. All right, cool. But that's about it. Without anything else to really sit down and start salivating over, you're basically left with more of the same, and that's not a bad thing. I just don't know how I don't know how Dodge is going to keep generating excitement for the brand when they're just giving you warmed over versions of the same thing over and over and over again. I mean, dude, listen, I love me some pancakes, but there's only so many different kind of pancakes that I can mow through before I'm just like wanting something else, right? So anyway, something will be coming. We just don't know what it is. And of course, people have talked about the CUDA, you know, the CUDA. What would that even be? Like a shrunken down version of the LX platform? Would the CUDA be the new Halo car? Would the CUDA be the new Viper replacement? Man, who knows at this stage of the game? But what I can tell you is when we do start seeing some revamps, don't look for anything to be too far from the norm. Just saying. Tad saying Mercedes and Audi seem to be selling performance wagons. Yeah, but you have to remember Mercedes and Audi kind of own that market. And unfortunately, that market didn't really trickle down for the States. I mean, look at the CTS V-Wagon, one of my favorite cars ever. You know, it just, they don't sell in the volume down here that they need to sell to really call it a viable portion of the of the family, so to speak. I mean, it just they just don't ever really take off the way that you would think. And again, you know, yeah, Audi and Mercedes-Benz seem to sell them. Dodge wasn't selling them when they had one, which is still kind of a bummer. Real Calvert saying, let's not forget the 2.7. Yeah. See Racer X saying, what's happening, brother? Glad to see you live again. Getting ready for H-Town next month. Yes. Cannot wait. Just prayers for DA, man. It has been rainy. It has been wet. So prayers not only for DA, but for weather in general. It was funny because we had a week here, Monday through Thursday. This was last weekend or weekend before last. Anyway, I can't remember right now. It's crazy how pretty the days were. Super low DAs, but the Friday that we would have had for the test and tune, it rained. So anyway, like I said, prayers for DA, prayers for good weather. Dr. Div's hanging out with Racer X. Let's see. White Knuckle, thank you very much. Say a little help for the clutch fund on Foxy or some Coke Zero. I like it. Thank you very much. Yeah, tonight we are rocking the Central Market Italian sparkling mineral water and some Gatorade. That's the beverage of choice this evening. I need to go to specs. Let's see. Hilt Mode saying we need a Hellcat Dart. Yeah, it's coming, I'm sure. White Knuckles checking in with X saying, what's up? Yeah, Dr. Div saying, yeah, what about that April Fool's Hellcat Journey? Yeah, don't be surprised if you see some more of that coming in the coming years. Let's see, Dr. Div saying, I got me a weather station for the January meet, hoping to have some DA to run some good times and keep it in the left lane. Yeah, so, you know, coming into the upcoming track rental, you know, private deal that I'm putting on, it's funny because every year we just absolutely break records or we come real close to doing it. But most years we do. This past year, we got hit with a ton of humidity. It was just foggy. It was cool, but it just wasn't, yeah, the conditions weren't awesome. The very first year, the conditions were amazing. The next year, we had to move it a day because it rained. The year after that, we had a crazy headwind. I mean, it was just something after another. So, you know, it's just crazy when you start trying to plan these things a year in advance and, you know, the day starts to come up and you're getting all excited and everything's all right, here we go, you know, and it's, you know, got the tune ready, you know, is the car ready, nut and bolt everything, change the oil, look at all the fluids, everything. And then you're just kind of sitting there rocking back and forth. It should be a lot of fun. So we're all looking forward to it. And we get the weather that we're looking for. I'm looking to put that little girl, deeper into the tens, really closer to the nines, really. She's already run 1020s this year, so I can't really get upset with whatever the car runs, but it's going to follow the DA. So if we have a negative 1,000 DA, that's going to be easily 10-10 or 10-1. Low 10-1, like 10-1-1, 10-1-2. We get any deeper DA than that, she's going to start running 10-0s. And the tune is already proven to have gone as fast as the car did in negative 1,000 foot conditions. It's already done at 0 DA. So to put that in perspective, for every 1,000 feet, it's about a tenth, give or take, at this power level. For every 1,000 feet, you're looking at around 3% in power gain. So, so far I've been able to pick around and kind of pick at the tune and pick up another 20-30 horsepower, which should be good enough for, about a tenth at that weight and that power level. So we'll see. But so far, I've kind of already met a goal with the car. We started out with some interesting goals for Little Miss Revlon, aka the Mistress, aka Red Alert. We had some pretty interesting goals for the car. One was to, going from, the very first was to try to get the thing to run, a 1050, which it did pretty quickly. The second goal was to try to get the thing to run a 1040 with a locked computer. We were able to do that. Next was to, at some point, hold on, Torquay's wanting to say hello. Hello, my boy. What's up, my boy? What you doing? What's up, my baby boy? So that next goal was, at some point, the goal was to run in the 60s with the 309 gear with an unlocked computer. Did that. Then it went 40s and, the whole routine with that. I think it finally ran 1030s with that unlocked computer and a 309 gear with real low DA. And then from there, I didn't think the car would ever run 1020s. That's the weird thing about it. Never did I think that the thing had it in it. But, here it is. It just did it in 0 DA, where it took negative 1,000 or negative 1,100 DA to do it last year. And then I unlocked the computer and played around with the tune. And that's when in January I ran 1016, 1017, and 1019. And for this thing to run that deep into the 10 stock was just, on 93 octane, no less, was pretty crazy. And again, I went in, played with the tune a little bit more, and I was able to run that 1025 in what is in essence 0 DA. I think it was 161 feet. It ran the 1027, and at minus 60 feet, it ran the 1025. So, call it a 1026, whatever. You can kind of see where I'm going with that. So, let's see. Crestal 5100 or something like that. What is that? I don't know what that is. Brother Kate's saying, long live the Duster. Yeah, that's another car. All these cars, all these project cars are so unimaginable. What is he digging out of there? It's so unimaginably expensive. Just a regular old clapped out thing that somebody would basically pay you to get off of their property. Now they're wanting $4,000 or $5,000 for, which is loony as far as I'm concerned. Let's see. Oh, Doctor saying, hey, I came close to that record this last year, just ran out of fuel pump. Amber saying, I'm excited. I'm excited too. I'm super excited, actually. Let's see. John Smith is asking, are all 5.7 Hemi heads from 09 and on car or truck good heads? As I know, 06 to 08 have valve seat problems. 09 and up, I haven't heard of too many issues with 09 and up. But yeah, you're right. 06 to 08, they did have valve seat problems. The better heads, though, you're going to find in basically 2011 and up Hemis. But yeah, I don't think you'd run into too much of an issue there. Tad saying you should go to the Mopar meet in the mountains in Gatlinburg, Tennessee in June next year. Love me some Tennessee. In fact, where's that the picture of me when I when I broke the NA Viper record back in 03? I think that was in Tennessee, as a matter of fact. Can't remember the name of the track though. Had a great time. That was 2003, 20 years ago. Speed Shop saying Dr. Diff, Speed Shop saying, off the wall question I got today. What do you think of that VP or butane additive into the E85? Don't do it. I had a customer ask me and I didn't have an answer. I think it would hurt more than help. Yeah, don't. Just no. I would say that don't. Run the right E85. First of all, if you're going to run E85 and you're worried about fuel quality, you're going to need to run Ignite or something along those lines. Because if you're trying to get away with like butane or something like that, trying to bring the octane up, it doesn't work like that. If anything, you could be hurting what you've got in the tank. So yeah, stick with the stuff that actually works. Butane, the funny thing about it is that it works great for gasoline, but all it is additives. And if you start getting too crazy with it, just remember that your car doesn't burn add packs. It burns gasoline. It's not a fuel source. So, just kind of know that coming into that. Some things to ponder. Let's see. George R is asking, is it normal for low intercoolant level light to come on after a hard pull, but not while normal driving? It can be if you've got an issue with your sensor. It can be if you've got an issue with the actual clip. If you look at it and you see that there is adequate amount of coolant in the thing, then you'll be fine. Hold that thought. I got to let my boy in. You go inside, buddy? Come on. Here you go. Poor guy, the meds that he's on, he's drinking all the time, always going after water. Amber is asking, I'm sorry, getting back to George. Yeah, I mean, if you've got the right amount of coolant in the thing, you should be fine. Again, it's just going to be a sensor issue more than anything else. G-load could be causing it. Now, if you just don't have any coolant in the thing, then that could be another reason why it would do that. Let's see. Amber's asking, what should I be shooting for next month as far as time in my stock scat pack? I'd set a goal of somewhere around 1150 and just see if you can hit it. You'll have to shallow stage, go crazy with the thing coming out of the hole, but I think that you can pull it off. So, in those types of DAs, we start getting deep into the DA scenarios. Yeah, that's where you'll be able to take advantage of that and run that number. So if we have the right weather, be on the lookout for that. Certainly in the 60s, no doubt about that. White Knuckles asking, E85 is higher octane than those two can produce. So kind of, you're really hanging on the ethanol in that respect for the extra octane. The problem with E85 is that it's a lot of ethanol mixed with 87 octane. And the difference is, like with Ignite, you'll have ethanol mixed with 93 octane, and that's what'll get you a more consistent fuel, a little bit higher octane, but it's also a known value. You have to remember that E85 is not E85. E85 has an MEA spec range from E70 to E90. So for varying weather conditions, you're going to get more or less ethanol. If you live in an area where the temperature typically gets, say, below freezing or a little bit higher than freezing, basically it gets cold, the chances of you having a fuel that is lower in ethanol are going to be pretty great. As a matter of fact, it's not uncommon in certain parts of the world to test E85 and it is E70. And the reason for that is because you run into issues with ethanol in very cold temperatures. Gasoline has a much higher freezing temperature, and so they will bump up the amount of gasoline, not only to keep it from freezing, but to also help the thing light off, because E85 is notoriously hard to cold start because ethanol has a lower energy content, has a higher octane rating, but a lower energy content than gasoline. Ramp up the amount of gasoline, and now you're in a situation where you've got a fuel that'll be easier to light off. Hold that thought, guys. Hang on just a second. Running into a battery issue with this thing. What in the hell? Hang on. What the hell? What is this thing doing to me? All right. Getting back to it. Let's see. Oh, Dr. Div saying something else today. My machinist said that the cause of the Hemi cams wearing out is because the valve springs wearing out because the cam, causing the cam to smack the roller and causing the bearings to go bad. Thoughts? That's a little difficult to believe because, I mean, it sounds like a cute theory, but I don't really see that being the case. I haven't seen a set of springs wear out. In other words, I haven't seen any indication that would agree with that. You would be running into issues with valve float before it started to tear up the cam or anything like that. Anytime anybody would go wide open throttle, it would lay over on the big end and you would notice something significant happening with that thing if the springs were wearing out to that level. And I can say that with confidence because the load profile on the Hemis is actually pretty aggressive from the factory. It doesn't have much duration, but it does have a significant amount of lift. And believe me, I can see where they're coming from that point of view. But no, the springs probably wouldn't have that. Now, you could almost make an argument that, you could have a slightly bent push rod, and that could potentially cause some, the lash, for lack of a better way of putting it, being completely out of whack, could cause some issues. But realistically, I don't think it's the springs wearing out. I think it's just a bad set of, a bad design for a roller rocker. Let's see. Oh, Greg is saying, got a recall for my 17 Hellcat to replace the Cat's downstream O2s and PCM program. Have you heard of this? Hurting performance. Hate the dealer messing with my car at stock. If it's stock, I don't think you're going to have anything. It's not going to sting you. It's not going to hurt performance that I can see. In fact, it may help if you've got, an issue or something like that going on with the car. This thing's got a tune on it, and I'm not going to be messing with that recall stuff. It just, no. But, it's an unlocked computer, and I can retune. I can reflash it back to whatever I want. So it would be a moot point. They would flash it with this new thing, and I would just go reflash, and it would be done. So it's not worth it for me. But I don't think it's going to hurt anything. I mean, the new Hellcats aren't hurting for performance. I can tell you that. So, SD's asking, what's up? I like your car. Is it a Camaro? I do have a Camaro. It's just not in this garage. So if you like that Camaro, well, then you like third gen Camaros. Cool. John Smith is saying, thank you. Thank you. Dr. Div saying, I personally run VP X85 in his truck, and it hates to start on a cold day. Typically, you'll have to spin it over a bit and then pop it off 2 or 3 times. That can happen for sure with the E85. It's real common, and it's even more prevalent on the import side, where you've got real big injectors for the guys who are running big turbos on Subis and, just pick something. It doesn't matter. Those guys run into that same issue as well, where, they're trying to light the thing off and they just don't want to start in the morning. So, Uh, yeah, that will happen. Let's see. Oh, it's Dr. Div saying, okay, that's my thoughts also. You run into valve float issues first, but the guy is like 78 years old, so I listened to what he said. But it feels it's from the water thin oil, in my opinion. Could possibly be. I run 0-40 in everything. I mean, the entire fleet gets 0-40. The only thing that doesn't is my wife's Jeep. Um, but I mean, that's the only thing that doesn't get 0-40, and that is probably just because I'm following the thing on her oil cap. But I just like the higher shear strength. I like to have a little bit more viscous oil. It deals with heat better. You're spinning these things really hard. I want a strong film strength. I want an oil that's going to basically stick. Now you could make an argument, well, is it worth more power, to run the thinner oils? Not really, not at this power level and not at these RPM levels. These are street cars doing street things. I would take durability over, an extra 3 horsepower pretty much any day of the week. Stock 392 can hit 1150. I never got close to that in mine. Kobe Warren, yeah. If you find if you find a real low DA and you're on a drag pack, pull the seats out of the thing. I've gone 1125 in a stock internal, stock intake, stock throttle body, stock airbox, Hellcat filter, cat delete car that was a clone of Shalandra. And yeah, I went 1125 in that car and 1139 with Shalandra at full weight on 20-inch wheels. So they will definitely do it. Albeit those did have a transmission tune and an engine tune. Kobe saying, I must be slow. I'm hitting 1120s in the Hellcat. Man, you just need tire and DA, buddy. You'll get there. Racer X. $4.99 for the V6 Go Fast Fun. Dr. Dish saying, I'll throw in on that too. Well, thanks, guys. I think that's a good start. I think that the stickers that will get will certainly add a certain amount of panache, if not power, at least. But thank you very much, and we will definitely be putting that towards the clutch fund for little Miss Foxy back here. But thank you very much, and I do appreciate that. White Knuckles checking in at 549. Okay, some more for that fun too. So yeah. I find it curious, and this is something, it's interesting. I find it curious when we start talking about, and this comes up a lot, and it's easy for it to come up on the Mopar side because we've got so many different varieties basically of the same thing. So you've got a 6-cylinder Challenger, you've got, the RTs, which are going to be your 5.7, you've got the 6.4 variants, which would be your Scat Pack family, would used to include an SRT. Your Hellcats, your Red Eye, your Demon, your Super Stock. I mean, the list goes on and on, right? So it's easy for there to be quite a bit of sibling rivalry. But what's funny is that, you can have sibling rivalry, but I mean, there's what exists in somebody's imagination and then what exists in the real world can sometimes be a little bit, those two paths can kind of diverge. And you can kind of see that with, the efforts that go into, or that would need to go into, I should say, getting one of the V6s to really run the way that you would think, or the way that you would hope. More to the point, we're selling fantasy here, really, aren't we? Come on, let's be real. You're selling fantasy here. This is wizards and warlocks. This is heavy metal. Okay, this is what that is when it comes to the Mopar V6 performance. That's really what you're selling. You're selling the fantasy, the dream. I'll go out and I'll kick the crap out of whatever V8. It doesn't matter what it is. Okay, sure, nice. Roll that 12-sided die and see what freaking number it lands on, because that's about where you're at with that. Not that it's a bad thing. And again, I completely get it, and I'm completely down with the idea of adding power to the V6, especially when it comes in the guise of bigger wheels, sound system. Come on, say it with me. Paint job. Everything else that's going to come with it, the doors and everything. It's part of the presentation. It's part of the show car. It's part of the coolness of that show car. Plus, it gets you some power back so you can drag those big wheels and your big sound system and everything else around. So it makes sense in both areas. I'll put it to you like this. The next fast V6 Mopar I see will be the first fast V6 Mustang that I'll see. I'm sorry. I'm already sliding off track here. The fastest V6 Mopar that I'll see. If it was so easy to do and it was so novel to do, we're getting back to that novelty again, aren't we? If it was that good to do and that cool to do, then the aftermarket would be clamoring all over this. Let me tell you something. You're not finding yourself in a, you're not finding like this needle in a haystack by going after chasing performance in a V6 in that respect. You're just not. If you were, the market would cater to that, and it simply doesn't. Market caters to the 5.7 crowd. The market kind of caters to the 392 crowd. The market loves it, some Hellcat and any other forced induction crowd. You seeing a pattern here? So anyway, wish them the best, and in the right scenario, it absolutely makes sense, and I like it. And I'd never knock somebody for trying to do something different. I like the idea of hot rodding the 6, but I don't like the expense. I don't like the direction that it can take folks in terms of just throwing a ton of money at something that has an inferior transmission to the car that you're trying to beat, which would be obviously the 5.7. I don't think anybody would, the effort would be valiant, but I don't think you're going to get there going after the 392. But you've got an inferior transmission in a very heavy car with an engine that really wasn't made to be modded like that. Be spending a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort. And then what happens if you blow it up? That's the other thing. So what happens if you scatter that thing to the 4 winds and you've got how much money sunk into this thing as a whole, only to have to put another V6 in it? I mean, damn, you'd almost want to LS swap it at that point, right? I mean, if the whole idea is doing more with less, I mean, I'd rather do more with less money than do more with less displacement, right? I know. Blasphemy. I understand that. But you can kind of see where I'm going with this. And to be honest, okay, so let me full stop on that. We had a killer V6 Mustang at the shop, and it was a full house build. Built innards, I think a Pro Charger car. I mean, making about 20 pounds of boost. The thing was absolutely insane, completely hauled ass, exploded the engine. That was the reason why it was at the shop, because the shop before blew it up. But it was faster than hell, and I want to say that thing, I know it was in the 11s, I just can't remember where it was, but it even went faster than that. I mean, it was, and I remember looking at it going, damn, for all the money that was spent, you'd have had an 8-second freaking Mustang. But the guy wanted to be different. He wanted to be, do his own thing. Then you got into Another car that came across the shop. It too was a V6. It too got a supercharger. And it was not all that impressive. And stock 5.0s would pretty much show it its taillights. I mean, unless it was an old 5.0. And I can't remember what that car made to the rear wheels, but it wasn't like it was the second coming. It wasn't like it was the Ford GTR. I mean, I know it sounds kind of cool and all, but it's neat to think about, but it just never really worked that way. So anyway, in my experience with V6s just in general, they've been far more of a headache to, even think about going down that path with one personally. And, when I see folks that are doing it, I'm just tip of the hat to you, man. You're definitely doing something different. White knuckle, more for the fun. I like it. Dr. Diff and Amber laughing at me. Kobe, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. Thanks, man. Saying Merry Christmas, Foxy. You hear that? Getting some love back there, baby. Racer X saying, should add Racer X sticker to the back of Revlon. It's worth at least 2/10. Well, yeah, but I'm trying to go fast. That's going to slow me down 2/10, man. We're trying to add 2/10. No, we're trying to take away 2/10. I'm just messing with you. You got stickers now, dude? Man, I need some stickers. Sean, thank you very much. Saying $5 for the 5 liter. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Dr. Just saying, I was thinking more like 4/10 Racer X. I like it. Hellcat Reeve saying, tell that to 86 Face. I'll tell that to whoever needs to hear it. Racer X saying LOL on Dr. Dip. Let's see. White Knuckles laughing at Hellcat. Shawnee said the best thing I did to get my V6 Mustang to go faster was to sell it and buy a V8 Mustang. Well, like I say, man, it's tough when you start getting into that crowd where you're trying to, the thing is if there was something, part of me wants to take it and just run with it, right? Like built motor, built everything, big boost, E85, pumps, the whole 9 yards. Would it be worth it? Like I guess what I'm asking is, because this is something that never came up at the shop, I can assure you that. But what would it take to make a competitive V6? And I mean, honest to God competitive. I mean something that on a Mustang dyno puts down 480 to the rear wheels. Something that runs legit 1140s, 1150s. What would it take to make that happen? The problem is that we just don't ever see it at the drag strip. Nobody ever shows up with a competitive V6 Mopar of any kind. And so it's easy to kind of rib on them a little bit, give them a little shite because, it's your little brother or whatever. But the reality is that there's some guys that really take this stuff seriously and they want to have something different, unique, and all of that. Fine, I get it, whatever. But I would like to see more come of it. I want to see him at the drag strip. I want to see him on a drag pack. Hell, I've got an extra drag pack now. So, once the year starts progressing and, we start seeing things start to ease up a little bit, I'm not above throwing my tires on somebody's car if they want to see how fast it'll go. Like really see what, and without excuses and without nonsense, strip the thing down. Let's see if we can get one to run an 1150. Has anybody even run an 1150 with one of these things? I don't know, but I'll tell you this, I haven't seen it happen, but I've just not seen it happen at my drag strip. But again, I also have my own thoughts on these things. And I try to keep this family friendly as possible. So Racer X knows my thoughts on it. Always laughing at Shawnee for sure. White Knuckle saying, yeah, that's what the big thing with the V6 is. Everything downstream needs upgrading, and he's talking about everything. We're talking axles, rear end. We're talking everything. Transmission. I mean, my God, it starts to sound like, well, if you replace it with everything that is V8 quality, why not put a V8 in it? I don't know. Let's see. Dr. Div saying the V6 for a Jasper engine is $8,200 to my door at the shop, plus core, plus tax, plus installation. What? Oh, that's not a cheap replacement, man. No, thanks. Oh, Modern Red's checking in saying he ran a personal best on Sunday, an 11:32 at 120 Pro Charge 5.7. Very nice, man. Congratulations on that. That is screaming. White Knuckles saying, checking in with Modern Red, saying congratulations, man. That is excellent. Oh, Dr. Div saying, B Mason, you need some stickers. I know, I need to figure out, I got to come up with a logo and start getting that working for next year. Modern Red saying, thanks, White Hemi. White Knuckles saying, I rock one as well. Modern Red saying 25 PSI, or Boosted Hemi saying Modern Red Hemi 25 PSI did wonders. That's what I've been saying, guys. You've got to have a you've got to have a strong understanding of the tire that you're running on. These radials don't like low pressure, guys. I've tried it. Listen, I've tried 18, hated it. 19, 20 was kind of a weird pressure for any of the radials that I've run. Could be ET Street SS, the Nittos, all of them. All of them like somewhere between 22 and 24 PSI. For like your car with a Pro Charger and a 5.7, you can definitely get away with 25. I've run as much as 25 in Revlon. So yeah, those tires will definitely hook up there, and that's really where they do their best work. So let's see. Oh, Sean's saying I missed his question at 10:21 regarding oil viscosity engine light on an 05 Chrysler 300C. Hold on. Hang on. 10:21. Let's see. What did you ask? What did I miss? Oh, here it is. It's saying 2005 300C 5.7 had an engine light indicating wrong viscosity oil. Could that be right? What does that engine take? 530 or 520? And 05, I think, is still going to be 520. But 530 is recommended for hot conditions, I think, for that. So I don't know what that would be showing. That's kind of weird. So yeah, I would look into that for sure. As far as wrong viscosity, the only thing I can think of is maybe it's got some cylinder wash. I have no idea. How's the engine running? Is it smoking? I mean, I'm just kind of thinking outside the box here. What all could be potentially going weird with that thing? Wrong viscosity oil. I've never even heard of that code before. Weird. And we're saying, I want a B Mason sticker too. I need to. Hey, Modern Red, thank you very much. I appreciate that, buddy. Thank you so much. You got the 499 saying, thanks, Professor B. Thank you, Modern Red. The clutch fund is growing. Yeah, I need to make some stickers. So I don't know what would it be? I guess it'd be like a cartoon bald head or something like that. Dr. Div saying Pops will probably take you up on that drag pack offer. Yeah, we need to let's hang on, dude. Oh man. Yeah, I bet. Let's see. At Modern Red is that's a good time. Congratulations. Keep up. You'll only go faster for sure. Yeah, so for Pop's car, the tires that are on the back of, or the prototype tires that I'll be testing would have to come off of there. I don't know if I need to, I don't know what I'm going to end up doing with those things, to be honest with you. But it'd be interesting to get some data, actually, now that you mention it. I'll just throw you in the car, throw the drag pack on it, and go to town, because it'd be good to see how it reacts with that power level with a manual transmission. I think they would do well. You know how the DBRs versus the ET Street are. So the difference, just so you know, the difference between the two tires, the DBR is a lighter tire to the tune of about 9 pounds. I've got a brand new set of ET Street Rs now, and I weighed them and compared them to a brand new set of DBRs, and there's a significant weight difference. And where all that weight is in the sidewalls themselves. So I think that the DBR, it's not a bias ply, but I think it's pliable enough to where it would work well with that car. But again, I mean, you'd have to bonsai launch it. But I think these tires would do well. But again, after testing, you know, we can chat about that. In fact, the soonest opportunity I may have to test may be the track rental, and I don't even know if I can test them then. I may have to wait until after to test them, but we'll see. And again, Monterey, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Dr. saying, good chat tonight. Yeah, having fun with this one. Let's see. Oh, Monterey saying 1163 with 23 PSI earlier in the day, pumped them to 25 and ran 1132. Things that make you go, huh? Well, that's drag racing basically. And again, you're also messing with rolling resistance. You're messing with a contact patch. There's a lot that's going on there. Amber said, Paul said he's going to design your stickers. I like it. I already know what one of them is going to look like. Greg saying, got the 18-year-old starting out with a Neon SRT4 project. I love it. One of my favorite cars ever. Project first car. Do you have thoughts on building this motor or improving reliability? SRT4 is actually pretty stout from the factory. So I check it for cylinder pressure, leak down the whole bit. If you're good to go there, then you'll be fine. Can't remember if it's a timing chain or a belt on that engine, but make sure you address that coming into this. You know, if you're going to put a cam on it, stick with something kind of mild, just so that it's not a pain in the ass to tune, or stick with stock, which is just as good. You can get plenty of power out of those things with stock cam. Love those cars. I've had some of my most fond memories at the VOI, the Viper Owners Invitational events, have been behind the wheels of an SRT4, or a pair of SRT4s, I should say. So, yeah, love those cars to death. That's going to be a lot of fun. Definitely going to have a lot of fun with that. Oh, White Knuckles hanging out with Modern Red saying, yeah, try, you know, pushing a bike with a flat tire, same kind of idea. Dr. is saying, LOL for my Pops comment. I just say, do the Mopar chat live stickers, and I'll always be the one in the driver's seat on the track. Pops is clueless. Love that guy, but he cannot drive. No, I hear you, man. And yeah, like I say, it's, you know, we'll see what the next round is going to look like with the prototype tires. But, you know, right now I can't do any street hits, but I'm sorry, I can't do any no prep hits because the DVR compound will just fillet. But when I can get it to the track, I'll be able to do some pretty cool things with this profile. Let's see. Brian says, pump your front tires up to 50 plus PSI. That helps. It does help. Absolutely, it does. I know, say it does. Kobe saying he saw an SRT6 the other day. If you're not familiar with that, that is the hot rodded Crossfire that is actually a Mercedes. Basically, it was an SLK, a 350 SLK, I think is what that would have been. From back in the day. Anyway, it was a supercharged V6, which is a shame that they didn't carry that one forward. Very fun car. Kind of heavy, though, for what it was. Dr. No saying, love me an SRT4, change the timing belt for sure, turn the boost up and find someone well-versed in HP tuners on SRT4 stuff. It will run good for sure. Yeah, it will. Anybody remember the Stage 3 SRT4s? Those things were nasty fun. Monterey saying, I wish I was in Texas. Hanging with you folks would be a hoot. Absolutely, man. We do nothing but have a good time down here. Monterey's got the arm flex. I like it. Quick Break saying, add and remove Paul sticker design. May incorporate midget with a glass eye? Possibly. It knows what's good for him. White Knuckles saying, Prowler is an SRT6 as well, I believe. No, Prowler wasn't. Prowler was its own contraption. Had a 2.7 liter V6 floating wrist pin deal. It was lamented for not having a V8. Even if they could have figured out a way to put the 4.7 in that thing. But it was a V6 and they had superchargers for them and everything else. I really liked those cars when I was a kid. Dr. Div saying, I had a Stage 3 for a while until I got hit by a pole. Bummer. Amber. Laughing at Paul and Quick Break. Racer X and Quick Break. So, yeah, I think coming into, like I was saying, coming into January, got some high hopes. This year has been a complete disaster for a lot of folks. And, a lot of us are just trying to, get out there and blow off some steam and have a good time. I know I'll be looking forward to it. I cannot freaking wait. As always, I'll probably won't be able to sleep the night before. But it'll be a good time. Again, shooting for some records this year. We've got some folks that are going to be going after the Ram 1500 records. I think we've got a contingent coming down for that as well. We've also got we've got me going after, basically looking to resettle or reset, whatever you want to call it, the 93 octane tune, stock boost record, whatever micro record I can drag out of Little Miss Revlon. Again, with that new tune that I've got put together. I've been able to whittle away at the ET. I've been able to whittle away at mile per hour. Guys, she is running right now for what she is. 134, 135, 130, high 133s. Again, stock boost with the passenger seat in, mind you. She's putting in work. Again, that's all on 93 octane, and the data looks nice too. So there's that to consider. Sensor voltage is nice and low. Fuel quality lately has been pretty decent, so there's that to consider. But coming into this January, I'm really looking forward to. I've already got the data on the car. There's really nothing else to get. Shift points look good. What else is there to do but just get her out there and let her do what she does? And that's going to be a lot of fun. So there's that. I'd like to see Amber's car run in the 50s. Basically untouched, untuned, uncracked, anything. What else is floating around out there? I'm always going to forget. Anyway, I know that Ron is going to try to dig a little bit deeper for the super stock record. So there's that one coming as well. So we're going to have some pretty cool cars there. A couple of probably 2 or 3 demons at least that I know of are going to be showing up. So lots of cool Mopars, lots of cool trucks, lots of cool cars. Just a lot of neat stuff is going to be showing up to the party. So definitely looking forward to that. Can't wait. We're less than a month away and I am about to lose my mind because this is about the time every year when I'm as long as I've been doing this is the 4th year, I guess I've been doing this. And the interesting thing about it is that I turn into this amateur meteorologist about this time every year. So I'm breaking down like, okay, last year, what did it look like? What did it look like coming into last year? What about 2 years before that? What days did it rain? Like any of this even matters because it doesn't. But anyway, it gives me something to at least call a pastime in the meantime. So let's see. Oh, Brian saying, remember the fast little Plymouth Horizon that I had from that had a turbo from the factory? I forget its official name. What was that? I started getting them all backwards and confused. But one of my favorite all-time Mopars would have been the GLH, the Omnis. I always start thinking about those and the Daytonas. Man, those cars were fast as hell. And given the era, okay, I mean, for not by today's standards, obviously, but given the era, they kind of held their own in a way that they shouldn't have. So I don't know. Always got a kick out of seeing those things screaming around. So anyway, there's that. But I've got a weird kink for front wheel drive hot rods too. SRT4, the Omni, the Daytona, the 600, the ES turbos. That was my first car. And, you know, all of those Mopar front wheel drive, transverse layout engine deal. I don't know. There's something kind of cool about that. I guess because it's just so different. I mean, it's kind of cool to see something different. Which leads me to something else that's totally different, but darn it if I can't keep the show. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Dr. Div said, hold up, is Jay coming to town? I don't think Jay's going to be coming to town, but some of his work might. Good luck, Modern Red, Hemi, or just Kyle. It's not going to be anybody else, I'll tell you that. Amber saying, me too, talking about her car running a number. It'll definitely run a number. I mean, we've had, well, you know this. I mean, we've had records get broken and then reset and rebroken in the same day at this track rental. So last year was a little bit tough, admittedly, primarily because, you know, it was just so humid. We had the temperature, but the humidity was just crazy. I mean, you couldn't see to the end of the drag strip, but we did have a low DA. Again, the year before that, I think, was the year of the headwind. The year before that was actually kind of decent, but the rain kind of got us. So, and then the first year was, I mean, it was Chamber of Commerce. You could never have possibly dreamed of a prettier day than that first one. So, let's see. JRT saying, hey, Mason, I recently installed a lower Hellcat airbox with a K&N filter on my 19 Scat Pack. I'm now losing 3 miles per gallon on fuel. Same with driving stock intake. Any reason why why so drastic of a change? Typically it happens when people just have their foot in it more often. I don't run K&N filters, so I can't tell you that filter would change anything. But I don't think that it would. I don't see any reason for your car to have lost 3 miles per gallon. Again, if your driving style, you know, you're playing around with the car more, but I've never seen that happen. That never happened with any of my cars anyway. And nobody at the shop that had those types of systems, be it a K&N drop-in or anything like that, would have noticed or would have mentioned anything like that. So, you know, I would maybe take a look at, you know, if there's a driving style maybe that had changed along with that, or, man, I mean, you got me beat. I will tell you this. Hang on, so it's definitely a K&N. It's not a dry filter. In other words, it's not a filter that you wouldn't oil. And I need to make that clear that it's not a dry filter and that it is an oiled filter, because when I was doing all of my intake testing, this is going back a couple of years for the NA stuff. When I was doing all my intake testing, one of the issues that I ran into, I actually ended up throwing the thing away, was one of the AEM dry filters. And that filter was awful. In fact, I didn't even bother to track test it. It just, you couldn't even blow through the thing. I was going, what in the hell is going on with this filter? I almost thought it was a defect, like a defective part. The dry filters typically don't flow as well, and they certainly won't flow as well as a Hellcat filter. because the Hellcat filter flows roughly 1100 CFM. And that's what I use in the Hellcat. And, obviously, it's run those numbers. It's run those, 10 teens with that filter. I don't ever run without a filter. So, I just don't. So unless there's something going on with the filter itself, or it's a dry filter in that the dry filter doesn't flow as much, and so you're in the throttle more, that'd be the only thing that I could think of that would cause you to lose any kind of fuel economy with that filter. I guess what I'm getting at is best thing you can do is throw your stock filter back into that assembly, see if you pick up any mile per gallon. If that's the case, then it could simply just be either an over-oiled K&N may cause that. The K&N itself, I don't know if you noticed this, but the K&N itself has less square inches of actual filter media. So the factory filter, the Hellcat filter, will filter. Do I still have? Man, I used to have one of those things that's kind of sitting over here. Anyway, it'll filter basically from wall to wall on that air box. If you notice how much rubber is bordering the K&N filter, you'll notice that filter is just physically smaller. The window that the air has to look through, so to speak, is smaller. Couple that, if it's over oiled, it could actually be acting as a more restrictive air filter than the one that you just got rid of. So it's not to say that it's the filter. I'm just saying try that experiment and see if it works. Oh, Brian says, yeah, that's it. The GLH. Yep. GLHS. It does stand for goes like hell. The GLHS stands for goes like hell some more, is what that stands for. And that's straight from Carol Shelby. Dr. Div's checking out, saying, appreciate the chat. Great chat, B, and everyone else. Nice to see a good group. Y'all have a good one. You too, brother. Let's see. Oh, Doc Div saying, y'all have a good one. Stay warm. You do the same. Yeah, get your dad's car fixed. We need to get that thing to the track. Need some data. Modern Red's checking out, saying, me too. Awesome chat as always. Pro Mason, y'all have a good one. Good night. Good night to you, brother. You have a safe one tomorrow, buddy. Cubby saying, one day I'll drive down to get some track advice from you at the drag strip. No problem. I help out everybody, man. In fact, there's kind of a group of us that we, it's more than happy to coach somebody through the process. In fact, more than happy to coach somebody through the process. It helps everybody. And I understand how intimidating it can be, especially if you're new to drag racing, just to ask somebody for help. In fact, I had one guy that, and this kind of happened over the course of a couple of different nights, but not like night and then like the very next week night. It was like night and then like 2 or 3 months later, had come back and then found me and was, wanting to get some more help. But it was interesting. The guy was kind of a douchey dude. It was funny as hell. And then, I guess after hearing me talking, he was with a couple of his friends and I was talking about their car specific, real good running Mustang. And so we were talking back and forth, and the guy had a Mustang and he was kind of, I don't know, coming across a little aggressive, if you know what I mean. And I just told the guy, I said, look, man, it sounds to me like you don't really know what you're up to here. You sound like you want to know. If you need to get some help, I'm more than happy to help you. Just to kind of diffuse the guy a little bit. And sure enough, man, about, 20 minutes later, the guy goes, yeah, can you help me out with this? And wanted to get separated from his boys. And once he was separated from the boys, it's a whole lot easier to walk him through how to drive his car. It ended up kind of helping him. And then, I don't know, maybe a couple of months later, I saw the guy and I was able to help him out again. But that's just because I don't like to see somebody fail. I like to see somebody succeed and win. That's like my thing. And so anytime I can help somebody do that, I feel like I kind of have a victory of my own. So, but Yeah, always happy to help. Always, and I'm happy to help anybody. So, and John's saying the SRT4 has a timing belt. I couldn't remember if it was a chain or a belt on that thing. Should have known it'd be a belt on that thing. But yeah, no, in fact, I've helped quite a few folks. A lot of times it's guys with manual transmission cars, staging, launching techniques, driving techniques, things like that. That's primarily what I've helped folks out with. But, you know, just staging the car, how to do a burnout, where to do the burnout, how to do a proper burnout. Don't do the burnout in the water box. That's the big one. How to stage, how to properly stage, you know, get up, do your burnout, get up there, stage your car, get it ready. All of that stuff, you know, just the generic, what's the best way to put it? Just I don't know, just the lay of the land, so to speak, without, you know, saying it the right way. White Nose says, that's what makes you the man. Be always willing to help a fellow guy, car guy out. Absolutely am. Good on you, brother. That's why I watch your lives. Thank you very much. Yeah, and that's another reason why I like doing the lives too. Obviously I've got, this is no joke, I've got over 400 videos on YouTube. Most of them, about half of them, and then some more than that, really are live shows. But I've got a lot of just regular videos too. And it's funny because, you know, a lot of them are how-tos, a lot of them are my thoughts and just the regular videos, how-tos, my thoughts on things, stuff like that. But, you know, being able to interact with you guys is something that's a lot more fun for me. And I'm able to actually answer some of the questions in real time that I would get on videos. And I might not see the question forever in some cases. And so because of that, I wouldn't be able to really have an interaction with folks that were legitimately needing some help with something that they're working on, or, you know, driving or techniques or whatever the case might be. And so in this case, it just made it a lot easier for me to directly, you know, have the conversation, just directly interact with folks. So, but, yeah, no, I love it. It's a lot of fun for me, and hopefully you guys have fun too. There have been shows where I've kind of decided I wanted to turn it up a little bit, make it a little bit more adult oriented. So I've done that before. I may start doing that. The late night shows may start coming back, but we'll see. It's going to depend on, you know, my work schedule and everything else. But bringing the old late night shows were pretty good. Things got a little bit crazy on those shows, but definitely not safe for work. I'll put it to you that way. Not like that, not that kind of crazy, but you know what I'm talking about. Some language gets a little bit colorful. Let's see. Curtis checking in saying, I have a 392 Hemi in my flat bottom boat. Should I keep the 6 Strombergs or change to a Holley 3310 780 CFM? Well, it depends on, well, obviously you'd be changing out intake manifold at that point. You're a boat, it's a 392, probably talking about a Gen 1. I would probably say that you would want to go, because of your target RPM, I would go, you'd go with a dual plane, single 4-barrel, ditch the Strombergs, be a lot easier to tune your 780 or 750. Really, you wouldn't need any more than a 750 with that thing. Mechanical secondaries. Let's see. Brian lives on saying, man, I wish I could go racing, but I have to wait until May here in Minnesota. At Brainerd International, one sweet place once it's open. Yeah, we're shut down right now. So my home track, Houston Raceway Park, will not be open again for at least public consumption until after basically the first week in January. So there's that to consider. It's unfortunate, but you know, everybody needs the time off anyway, and they're going to be getting ready for some other events and getting the track redone in the meantime. So that's always going to be cool. But, you know, the fun thing about it is, or the exciting thing about it, I guess I should say, is again, me being able to turn into that, amateur meteorologist. Typically, the way that it'll work too is about 2 weeks out, I'll really start stressing because that's when the 14-day forecast comes out. Then about a week out, I'm a complete mess because that's obviously your 7-day forecasts are getting a little bit more accurate and you can kind of see where they're going, both before and after the event. So a couple of years ago, it was really hairy. It was sunny and then it was rain and it was sunny and then it was rain. And then it would depend on what weather report you were looking at. One of them would say sunny and the other one would say rain. It was just it was a mess. Anyway, let's see. Kobe said, I think I've seen 90% of your videos. You might have, man. I appreciate that too. White Oak said, I'm here in Canada. You guys got it made. Yeah, I tell you what, we are definitely blessed with a long racing season down here. That's the fun part about it. Pay the price for it in humidity, but we'll take it. White Oak saying, although we get some sweet negative 1500 DA in the spring. Yeah, I would say so. And then Brian saying, I feel a little better. I like it. Well, guys, we're coming up on just past an hour and a half. And I got to wake up crazy early in the morning. But I want to thank each and every one of you guys for hanging out with me this evening. I hope you guys had fun. I know I certainly did. If you're going to send it, don't bend it. Keep it shiny side up. Keep wearing those masks. If not for yourself, then for others. Love each and every one of y'all. Want to keep y'all safe so we can see you on the next one. And that is going to be a wrap on this one. Y'all have a great one. Adios.